Greetings. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to close the door real quick. I'm using new technology and I don't know how to pause it, so hopefully I can edit it out. I'll be right back. All right. Okay. What in the goodness did I accidentally figure out today? So, I haven't done a 9-day calendar, and we've entered the Chinese New Year, which is based off of the moon. Well, if you've been following and listening to my 9-day calendar updates and shares, how I've been doing it is I base it off of the 9 planets, using Earth as the first planet, and then going through the planets from which is closest to which is furthest away. So we start with Earth and then we end with Pluto, okay? And then I've been starting it on the first day of the new moon, which after 3 consecutive weeks of 9 days, which is 27 days, I've been incorporating what I call days out of time, meaning that when I was starting it on the first day of the new moon, by the time we ended with the 27 days, there would be 2 to 3 days before the next first day of the new moon. Well, in January, after I had done the last video, I had finished, I'd done that video, and then I had done some more work on the calendar. So just to show you what I do with the calendar, this is kind of what I do with the calendar. So I'm going to pick January because it's more clear. Or is this January? This is January. Let me show you last year's so that you get a better idea of what I'm talking about and then what I've discovered. Okay. So this is December. All right. This is December. And let's see here. Can I see? Yeah. So what you'll see is Pluto, right? Here's the end, Pluto. And then we have the day out of time. I call it a day out of time, and then a day out. And then the 11th was the first day of the new moon. The 12th was the second day of the new moon. At the 13th, we went into waxing gibbous. Okay, so we had 2 new moon days. And so what I've been doing, and I'll just repeat it, is at the end of the 27-day cycle, which would be the 7th of December, I would consider those days out of time. And then start over on the very first day of the new moon. Okay, well, in January, after I had done the video, and I even started it correctly, at the bottom of the month, because it starts there and then it moves into January. I'm trying to get to January, so a whole nother calendar. So I got all the way to the new moon in January. So you'll see. So I get to the new moon here in January, and I write new moon. So I write day out. You can see So Pluto, there's the 6th. That's the last day. Then I put day out. And then day out. And then the first day of the new moon was January 9th. Well, I don't know where I did this, but I didn't start it on the 9th. I started it on the 12th. This is all an accident. And without recognizing what I had done this morning, because I was planning on doing this video and talking about the 9-day calendar, talking about some of the other calendars, and just talking about how we've been so misled about astrology, religion, just so many things, right? And I finish. So I started the 9-day calendar. I started the day after the 3 days of the new moon. Okay? And in all the research I've done, even the Jewish calendar, the Chinese calendar, they all say they start on the first day of the new moon. Right? That's what they say. This is all the research. I mean, if you guys have been following me for a minute, I've been doing this for at least 3 years. Doing this 9-day calendar and just doing discovery as I'm working with it. Every month, I'm working with it. So this month, with this accident, we get to the end of the 27-day cycle. And I went to go look for the day out of time, and there wasn't one. It started over. I did the 27 days, and then the next day was the new moon. And I thought, wait, did I make a mistake? So I go back and I said, oh, I did it all wrong. And I started it all over. The way that I've been doing it for the past 3 years. With the day at a time. First I started, if you haven't followed me, at first I started with the moon. And then I got the remembrance, and we'll get to that in a second. But I got the remembrance that if we worshipped anything, and if we started with any planet first, it would have been Earth. We wouldn't have been like, well, let's look outside. We would have started with ourselves and where we were at, which is this planet. So we would have started here. So if we are going to start with the stars, we start with the star we're on. And then we go outwardly, right? Or the planet we're on, and then we go outwardly. Well, then I was like, okay, no more moon. Let's just start with the planets. And then I've been working on this, and then I've been matching it with like certain astrology and all this stuff. So because what blew my mind is not only did I end up on accident, there's Pluto, 27 days. You see, I went back. I was like, well, wait. I spent about an hour on this morning. New moon. Oh, look at this. Chinese New Year. Lunar New Year. That's the first day after the 2 days of the new moon. So I was like, wait. So I did it again. And I did it again. And I did it all the way to May. I haven't found, and I did some research because I'm like, wait, did I miss this? Have they been saying that the first day of the month would have started after the first day after the new moon? Has anybody said that? No one said that. Everyone is saying the first day of the new moon. No. No. That's not it. So this is what I accidentally figured out. The first day of the month. Okay. And then the 27 days fit perfectly. There's no days out of time unless you consider the new moon and the 2 to 3 days of the new moon being days out of time, which may have been something that the mothers, I was going to say Mo stars most stars, I was going to say, the most high stars, the mothers, would have known this, because this is where everything comes from, right? Oh my gosh. And I was just saying, like, hopefully this comes through. I had already accidentally done it. I didn't even know it until I revisited it. But all the way through. I mean, all the way through. If you start the 27-day calendar, 3 days, 3 9-day weeks to 27, because the number is 9. The number is 9. The vibration is 9. It works every single time. So I did it again. I went through, and we have the last day. And then as I was doing this way, I go to my phone. This is the old phone, because it has that app on it that actually has the days. I can't find this app, so I literally keep this phone specifically for this app, because this app will show you. For example, on here it says the new moon is May 7th, right? I'm going to let you guys see down there at the bottom. So the open circle is the new moon, and the full circle, or the all white one, is the full moon, right? So here, though, it shows you May 6th, new moon. Okay. May 7th, new moon. May 8th, new moon. It's really hard to find. I haven't found any other apps that show you this. So big props to who created this app. Thank you so much, because it's certainly illuminated me to things that, I'm telling you, I've been doing research on this for years. And mostly what I've found is that there are many calendars. And I've been talking to one of my friends about it. There's an Egyptian calendar. There's a Jewish calendar. There is the Islamic calendar. And both the Jewish and the Islamic calendar go off of the moon, but they are slightly different. The Jewish calendar, and I do think the Islamic calendar does this as well, adds a month on that they call a pregnant month. And depending on how exactly you go by the moon, because if you include these 2 to 3 days, you're going to end up, absolutely, you're going to have a 13-month year, and it will be a full month. It's like, it still comes out to 27 days. It's not a little shorter. It actually, because of the new moon, which they're not including in any of these calendars. So, all the way to May. And then what's really interesting is daylight savings time is during the March, during next month's 3 days of the new moon. The first day of the new moon is International Women's Day. On the first day of the new moon. The second day of the new moon is the 9th. The third day of the new moon is daylight saving times begins, or basically that night of the 9th. And then we have the first day of Ramadan. I'm just speaking about the Islamic calendar and how it goes by the moon. The first day of Ramadan is after the 3 days of the new moon. Not the first day of the new moon. No one has told us this. And did I figure this out on accident? No. Yes, but no. This is the remembrance. So we'll get into it. I just find this very exciting. And did you all know that Ramadan is happening this year in springtime, because I think most people associate, so that must mean Hanukkah. Hanukkah must be starting, or is, let's go back. And I find it interesting that these days relate to the new moon. I mean, even in these patriarchal religions, right? Let me see here. Because I thought Hanukkah and Ramadan would end up near each other, but I'm not seeing it. So I will look that up. When is Hanukkah? Maybe it already happened. I think it already happened. But yeah. So here, oh, and then we get to April. Oh yeah, was this last month? This month, all right, March. Let's see. New moon. Nope. Starts over here. Starts over. Excuse me. Starts over, and then on April 7th. So now I'll be able to know exactly when the new moon is starting, without looking at this. This will be back up, but I'll be able to start. I'll be like, okay, so we start the 9-day calendar, starting with Earth, the very first day after the new moon. That's the true first day of the month. If we're going by the 9 days, by the moon cycle. And what's being excluded is the 3 days of the new moon. What's the importance of that? The 3 days of the 2 to 3 days of darkness. This is what she was trying to hone me into, I think, is just the knowledge of this. Just the simple knowledge of knowing that this is how our calendar is supposed to work. This was the original moon calendar. I mean, I'm in awe because I knew I was onto something. I've been remembering. Yeah, all the way through to May. Pluto, the last day, then the next day, new moon, new moon, new moon, 3 days. Then we start again on the 9th. Isn't that interesting? I think a whole bunch of new stuff is going to come out as I keep going with this, y'all. I haven't found it anywhere. Okay, and so I've been saying remembrance. So one of the messages I got recently from Great Mother is, and it kind of took me aback, but the message was, some of this is not downloads. It's remembering. You're remembering. And I was like, what? So sometimes there are direct messages, like for example, there was something going on with me recently. I talked about healing stuff and going through emotional stuff, and I was craving spinach. Oh, okay. Side note. I do muscle testing with my body when I'm not feeling good, and my body lets me know usually what's going on. And so my body was like, it's your intestines. And so right before that, without double checking with my body, because something hadn't come up really, I didn't really need to check with my body, I had been eating spinach. Then I did some double checking in one of my books about intestinal stuff, and guess what is one of the most healing things you can eat? Spinach. So that could be remembering, or it could be like a message. But in the instances where, say for example, I say I got the download about said goddess, she says, that's your remembering. And this is something I think part of the patriarchal religion and just the way that we've been indoctrinated into spirituality, and especially when it comes to psychic and intuitive gifts and or being and being an elemental, that even with Great Mother or even with goddesses and remembering the divine feminine, we might consider it an outside source when she has literally put it within us to remember, and that's what we're doing. We're remembering. So that was a major message, because it feels like authority when we say, I'm getting a message from Spirit or a Great Mother. And it's intimidating to say, I remembered. This is part of how it goes, because a lot of people will say, where are the receipts? And I'll just say this as a little reminder, that receipts is an anagram actually of recipe. And the rememberers are the recipe. And back in the day, if we talk about like the ancient Sibyls, you think somebody was like, I need a receipt, ma'am? No, what they were getting was a recipe. They were receiving recipes from the Great Mothers and the Sibyls and the prophetesses. Those were the receipts, because they were getting divine remembrance, divine messages of who they are. And we used to remember. There was no need to say, this is a message from. We knew how to differentiate, like, this is what you need to do because we remember. And this is the message I get for you. Okay, and so before we go, one more thing. I was planning on doing a lot more today before doing the calendar. I mean, that's I feel some peace in that, because the Mayan calendar, all of these calendars, they're very interesting. They guide us tremendously, and they help time be a notion we can work with and use in our knowledge seeking and in our life continuances. Yet and still, as we're decoding how they've mistaught us. This is I'm just like, okay. And before I was like, wait, did I just figure something out? And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do some research, because I can't be the only one who's figured this out or said anything about it. But I mean, and even some of the definitions of these other calendars, they don't really make sense. They tell us the moon cycle, they tell us the sun cycle, but they don't really explain. For example, if you cannot see the moon, it's not until you see it again. But from what I'm remembering, we as mothers, we understood what was happening. We weren't like, oh my gosh, the moon is gone. We knew exactly what was happening, because my guess is through that new moon time, a lot of our remembrances would come back, and messages, and just so much. So much. That might have been times when we were creating I mean, are those days out of time? Because in the beginning, it was the watery. And there's so many that come back to the water and the great mother. Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay, I have a few minutes. So, I'm shuffling some cards because I got a new deck. I did share pictures of it, of Mama Cocha in the community, and that was just really cool because it was a reminder of the remembrance. And Mama Cocha ends up being Mama Kila's mother. Her mama's mama. Mommy and I are one. Well, so before I get to the card, in regards to Eve and my video from about 3 years ago, I learned some things. There's a book out there called On the History of the World. And in this, and it's supposed to be forbidden. These are forbidden books, and I'm working with new technology, so I'll do my best to post links and other videos from others explaining some of what I'm about to share. Sophia, the energy, the light, it's correct. So she has been passed down through generations to the remembrance. In the video I had done before, I spoke about how Eve, so this is one of my remembrances of how the stories of how Eve and Marduk and Lilith and Anput and the different deities that we've heard about, beings that were coined deities. And I have a whole nother theory about that because I'm starting to think that those who came from the sky were actually those who lived in the giant trees, not that came from a whole nother planet, because we start re-looking at some of the wording, it kind of makes sense. Like, these beings lived at the top of giant trees, where this earth, the daughters of the earth would have been those who were walking upon the earth, maybe. I don't know, just a theory. Anyhow, back to Eve. I had it partially correct in that she had been manipulated into the patriarchal kind of representative of this deity, which has now been corrected and we're seeing it. That is correct. However, the story that I have is a memory. It's one of them, because there are many stories. It's one of the stories. Yet, I want to apologize to Eve and that way that I represented her, as far as her being manipulated by her patriarchal father, which she was. However, she was manipulated by her patriarchal father to us. She had always remained in true knowledge of the feminine divine, and has been connected this whole time. So if you're interested, again, I'll post the links to it's another book. And again, it's supposedly forbidden because it recognizes the divine feminine giving life to Adam. It recognizes the divine feminine and the instructor and the knowledgeable being of the quote unquote serpent or the beast in the Garden of Eden, and gives a different story to the background of Eve that, of course, we haven't it is not common knowledge, obviously, because it's forbidden, right? It was forbidden. Okay, so I'm going to pull a card from this deck because, wow, I'm very pleased with this Sacred Mothers and Goddesses Oracle cards because I'm learning. I learned about several goddesses already and shared a little bit on my Patreon. If you are interested and have an opportunity on my Patreon, I am starting classes for elemental healing and getting to know yourself. So over there I did share a different card, and I'll be sharing cards there, but I'll be sharing cards here, and I'll be sharing some of those classes and information here on YouTube as well. But on Patreon it goes a little deeper, and we're able to have a little bit more of a one-on-one or connectivity through Patreon. So I will post that link down below as well. All right. All right for today. Just finished shuffling. So I'm just going to pause for a second. Okay. Embrace the sacred feminine. That's awesome. Embrace the sacred. I just love it. I just love it. I just love it. All right, let's see. So this deck is pretty cool because they've also included extra information and included rituals, ways to set up altars, questions you may ask yourself, ways to coach yourself through certain emotions, jobs, and some fun extras like what crystals, and so I'm going to share it with you guys, okay? And then we will go. All right. I love how the moon cycles are at the what? Okay. The powerful energy of the divine feminine, the sacred mother and goddess, is calling to connect with you. Love yourself deeply and radically. Live compassionately and fully. Connect to your intuition and your spirit, grounding deep into the earth. Allow yourself to be fully present, alive, tuned in, and living in love. Perhaps you have some resistance. Believe in and allow her energy to flow into your life. Deepen your practice by harnessing her power and walking in her path. It is time to move through the veil into other realms. Embrace the sacred feminine card spread. Okay, we won't go into that. Wow. Oh, okay. Embrace the sacred feminine. These are a little different from the rest of the deck. Interesting. Okay. I guess the questions that could be, all right, so I'll just, card one, or just questions you can ask yourself in this energy of embracing the sacred feminine. What do I need to do more of to nurture a closer connection with the sacred feminine energy? What should I focus my heart on to harness and honor that? What gifts are offered by this energy to support me in moving forward? I would definitely associate that with the elementals, right? And then an altar, if you wanted to do an altar to the sacred feminine, I mean, of course, use your imagination. Oh my gosh, how exciting. And then your altar can include anything that embodies the goddess and her divine feminine energy. Create your altar with intention, staying focused on what this beautiful energy means to you. Use any color and item that makes it a beautiful offering to the goddess. I love that. And you don't have to do anything. All right. Awesome. And then the bottom of the deck is eggshell, fertility and healing, which, as you know, the bottom of the deck is what can be considered the outcome. So the outcome of embracing the sacred divine feminine, or the sacred feminine, is the energy of eggshell, which you can totally look her up. She's pretty rad. Fertility and healing. Mommy and I are one. All right, so we'll do a little sound, and then I'll figure out how to post this with my new technology. Oh, well, and let's just say, what is today on the 9-day calendar? We go by the 9-day calendar. And the 9-day calendar with the new information that I have found out today is, so on the Gregorian calendar, today is Friday the 16th. Is that right? Oh my gosh. I'm looking at the wrong phone. Oh no, there we go. What? I can't see. Yep. So today is Pluto. Wait a second. I apologize. It would be Pluto Day by my old calendar that still did day out of time. But today would be Uranus. Uranus, with the first day starting on the 10th. It just blows my mind. It really just blows my mind. And we had Ash Wednesday. So we're still, in the background is still spiritual energies and numbers and all of that stuff. All right, my dears, folks, friends, and fans. All right, so a little bit of sound. Okay. Thanks for being here, listening, sharing, subscribing, and we'll see you next time. Take care.